What if the person convicted of sex trafficking minors could still walk free? What if the names she's protecting are the reason why? This isn't just a story about Ghislaine Maxwell, it's a story about power, how it's gained, how it's abused, and how it's protected. From the yachts of the ultra-rich to the courtrooms where justice is supposed to be served, this is a journey through privilege, scandal, and the people who think the rules don't apply to them. Now, before we talk about Ghislaine Maxwell's crimes, you have to understand where she came from. Her story doesn't start with Jeffrey Epstein. It starts with privilege and power. She's the youngest daughter of Robert Maxwell, one of the most powerful and controversial media moguls in British history, who built a publishing empire, rubbed shoulders with world leaders, and died under mysterious circumstances in 1991. If you've ever watched Succession with Brian Cox, you have seen the ruthless, larger-than-life archetype of a media baron, and Robert Maxwell was that in real life, only far more scandalous. In November 1991, the empire collapsed. Maxwell vanished from his luxury yacht, the Lady Ghislaine, while it was cruising off the Canary Islands. His body was later recovered from the sea, roughly 20 miles from Gran Canaria. Theories of suicide or foul play persist to this day, especially after investigators confirmed he had illegally siphoned hundreds of millions of pounds from his company's pension funds. He had plundered up to £460 million. It was one of the biggest financial scandals in UK history. Ghislaine grew up in extraordinary wealth. She spent her childhood in a 53-room mansion in Oxfordshire, surrounded by servants, political guests, and every advantage money could buy. She attended the prestigious Marlborough College, Oxford University, and moved easily in elite social circles. That upbringing, the connections, the confidence, the insulation from consequences set the stage for what came later. And that's the world Ghislaine came from, a world of immense privilege, scandal, and secrecy. Fast forward to December 2021. Maxwell was convicted in federal court on 5 of 6 charges, including sex trafficking of minors. That was the most serious charge, which carried a maximum sentence of 40 years. If she had been convicted on all 6 counts, she could have faced up to 65 years in prison. Instead, she received 20 years total for the 5 convictions, less than a third of the maximum possible sentence.
Ghislaine Maxwell has been sentenced to 20 years in prison for recruiting teenage girls to be sexually abused by Jeffrey Epstein. The British socialite was also sentenced to 5 years of supervised release when she gets out of prison, also ordered to pay a $750,000 fine.
Now, Maxwell is living in FCI Tallahassee, described by the Bureau of Prisons as a low-security federal correctional institution. There, 60-year-old Maxwell will be expected to wake up at 6 a.m., make her bed, dress in khaki pants and shirt, and maintain a regular job assignment.
She was the right-hand woman of Jeffrey Epstein, the serial sex offender whose circle included presidents, billionaires, and royalty. The prosecution presented testimony from several survivors. One of the most widely known was Virginia Giuffre, who was recruited by Maxwell at just 16 while working at the spa at Mar-a-Lago. Virginia has said she was trafficked by Epstein and Maxwell to powerful men, including Prince Andrew, allegations he has denied. In April 2025, Virginia died by suicide at the age of 41. Other survivors, including Maria Farmer, accused Maxwell of direct involvement in abuse of girls as young as 14.
And it became clear that, she was interested in grooming me towards, providing these massages for Epstein, and then actually abusing me herself.
Back in 2008, Jeffrey Epstein struck a secret plea deal with then U.S. Attorney Alexander Acosta. Buried in the terms was vague immunity for potential co-conspirators, which included Ghislaine Maxwell. The deal was hidden from the victims and later ruled illegal, but its existence has complicated efforts to hold Maxwell fully accountable. In July 2025, Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche, a former Trump attorney, conducted a private, unsworn jailhouse interview with Maxwell. Reports say she discussed over 100 individuals linked to Epstein and was granted limited proffer immunity, which means her statements couldn't ever be used against her in future prosecutions. 1 week later, Maxwell was quietly transferred to federal prison Camp Bryan, a minimum security women's facility in Texas. This was a permanent reassignment, not a temporary hold, and it required policy waivers. Federal prison Camp Bryan is nicknamed Club Fed for a reason. It's a dormitory-style campus with a focus on work programs, recreational activities, and community living. Inmates have access to craft areas, fitness facilities, and video calls with family. It's also home to other high-profile prisoners like Elizabeth Holmes, the Theranos founder, convicted of fraud, and Jen Shah from the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, who is serving time for a massive telemarketing scam. Victim advocates have criticized Maxwell's move as special treatment for a convicted sex trafficker, something the Bureau of Prisons usually prohibits. Maxwell's lawyers took their case to the U.S. Supreme Court, but the court has refused to see it. Meanwhile, there's the question of political power. In January 2025, Trump issued a pardon to Andrew Kyle Grigsby, a January 6th rioter from Louisville, Kentucky. But Grigsby wasn't just another Capitol attacker. He had already been convicted of possessing child pornography before the riot, and despite that criminal history, Trump wiped it away. Also on his first day back in office, Trump pardoned Andrew Tate, also a January 6th rioter. He is a convicted child pornographer who also faced a prior state charge for soliciting a minor. It's part of a disturbing pattern, granting clemency to people with sexual offenses involving minors, even violent offenders, while in the same breath claiming to be a champion for law and order. Trump's pardon of Grigsby and Tate, and maybe even Ghislaine Maxwell, is what Lawrence O'Donnell calls the Trump standard, loyalty over law, no matter how vile the crime.
But on day one, Donald Trump did pardon a child pornographer. No president's ever done that. You can be convicted of using child pornography, and Donald Trump will pardon you for whatever you did for him. That's the rule. Donald Trump won't hold child pornography against you if you are trying to overthrow the election for him on January 6th. That's the Trump standard.
If someone like that can receive a pardon, it's not a stretch to imagine Maxwell benefiting from similar presidential clemency. Maxwell has never publicly named names, but she's hinted she could. Between the sealed court records, the redacted flight logs, and the people in positions of influence who might have something to lose, the pressure to keep her quiet is immense. Was that jailhouse interview part of a silent deal? If she walks free, whether by appeal, commutation, or pardon, the message it sends about who can buy, bargain, or bluff their way out of justice is chilling, and for the survivors, it would be another wound that may never fully heal. Justice shouldn't be reserved for the rich and powerful. Not Maxwell, not anyone. If this story angered you, good. It should. Because the fight for justice isn't just about one case. It's about the system that lets people like Ghislaine Maxwell play by different rules, and if we stop paying attention, they win. I will keep covering the stories that they want you to forget. So if you want to make sure that you don't miss the next one, like, subscribe, share, and speak out, because silence is how injustice survives. Remember, justice should be for everyone. No exceptions.